Welcome back to another episode of Untitled Opinions. And who asked you? I was trying to get the music to start this episode, but it wasn't rocking with me. But we're gonna still try to fix that issue and have a good intro sound. You know what I'm saying? Good music to set off the mood and get us on to the topics of the day. So let me go ahead and share my screen here because it's best I share my screen. Share this window. Let's see. Share this one. Yeah. Okay. All right. So got that. Let's get up out of there. Actually, let's fix this. Let's stop sharing for a second. Let me go ahead and set this up right. Go ahead and open up the pictures so I can make the background the actual topic of today's show. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do it right. Sorry for the silence. See if I can. No, no. They should be able to let you put the background image in the back of this while you're doing all this. You know what I mean? Wouldn't that be good? Like a little background. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, let's continue on. Got the picture. Do I got the picture? I should chat. All right. Okay. Um, okay. Let's not edit. I don't want to edit it. I just want to open it. Okay. All right. Well, we'll work with this. All right. So we'll share the entire screen. People probably like, I ain't taking mad long. I know, but bear with me. You know what I'm saying? What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing. This is our title for today: Be Real or Be Gone. All right. This is the podcast for today for Untitled Opinions and Ask You, brought to you by your own boy Ray Caruso. If you don't know, it is me and it is I. No one else, and who else better than me? You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and pitch us off. As you can see in our description, I definitely have the title there, have information put along. See if I can put this to the side for us here. I got information put on so we can go off the topics today as well. A lot of the topics that I have, etc., etc., etc. So let's start off with it. Let's get off it. Let's kick into it. Get rid of this infinity screen. Like, who wants to see the infinity screen? Right? A lot of this other stuff is in the Who Asked You segment that we're gonna be talking about. But let's jump into it. How was y'all weekend? I mean, it is Monday. Normally, I record these on Sunday nights. My Sunday night was busy. People wanted to grill. How do you grill Sunday night? Who does that? You know. But anyways, they do that. So we did that. Grilled last night. I ended up, knocking out, gathering a lot of information, a lot of ideas and topics, so we can have this discussion today. But overall, I hope you guys had a good weekend. We made it to the weekday, which is always good, right? I mean, who doesn't want to get to the weekday? You got to get back to the money, right? Mondays back to the money, and then Tuesday, Wednesday come before you know it, you're back to Friday. So let's get into the topics of discussions today. All right, be real or be gone. You know what I mean? Like, have your girl, be real with her, or have your man be real with her, or just get out of that relationship. You know what I mean? I see a lot of people, or I see a lot of post and stuff on TikTok that goes viral. This one post that really sparked our topic today. This guy wanted to take a vacation and his girl didn't have the money for the trip. And I guess he said he'll pay for everything else on the vacation, but she had to pay for her own ticket. Mind you, they weren't dating for like a couple months. They've been dating for a while, and she was like, well, I got some debt, which is understandable. If that's your girl, then she's got debt. Who doesn't have debt? You know what I mean? But again, you don't want to be playing these games like you're not gonna take the lady, you know what I'm saying? Or take that man. So he ended up taking the trip alone, and leaving her back because she couldn't pay for her own ticket. And I'm like, that shit's that shit's insane. Like someone should go ahead and take your girl because you obviously don't wanna. It shouldn't be about the money with your girl that you've been with for a while. And you're already paying for everything else. Bring her on the trip. That's free ass for you. Excuse my language, you know what I mean? That's definite for you. You don't wanna go on this trip, and be alone and just not have any time, which some people might wanna do, which he possibly could just said that, like, "I'm going on a 2, 3-day trip alone," just to get my head right. But whatever the case is, you don't put up the option for your girl or your wife and say to her, "Hey, maybe you should pay your own ticket." What kind of sense is that? In my perspective and how I thought about it, I was like, man, so you're basically gonna leave, go out of town for however many days, and you're leaving her vulnerable and unprotected, unsafe. Somebody can go in there and take her from you, and then you would be upset that she wasn't loyal to you, but you weren't loyal to her. To me, that's loyalty. To me, loyal is going everywhere with your girl. Go with her. You claimed her. That's your claim to fame. Then keep it. You know. Don't leave her out here for someone else to come and pick her up or pick up the pieces. You know what I'm saying? Who wants that? No one wants to pick up the pieces from your girl, bro. Just take her with you. You know what I mean? Get your money up and not your funny up. Pay the way. It shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't even be a conversation for any 50-50 shit. I think 50-50 are only for poor people or poor-minded people who shouldn't really be in relationships anyways. Those people like testing out waters and shit like that. That's just this, again, these are my untitled opinions. Okay? All right? I don't think everybody should be out here, getting into serious relationships. Everyone deserves love. Yes. Yes. Everyone deserves love. Everyone deserves the manner of love. Yes. The motion, the manner, all that. Yes, you deserve that. But in the same sense, sometimes not all of us are going to be getting the opportunity of having a successful relationship because not a lot of us know what successful relationships are. Regardless if it's a boyfriend girlfriend thing, it could be a relative relationship, a friendship, any of that. Some of us as people don't know what successful friendships or relationships are. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, a lot of times a lot of these new men or these new times, we get into the zone where it's like, well, she has to bring something to the table. Yeah, she's bringing that coochie, the breasts, her looks, and she's making sure that everybody knows that this is what you got. The security that she can give you and kids possibly. You know what I'm saying? Even without the sex involved, you know what I'm saying? Not every guy gets a girl out here. I always try to tell people that. There's a lot of guys out here that don't get a girl. So if you can get one, I'm not saying settle for less, but man, get your act together. She's not asking you to buy her $1 million ring. You wanted to go on that trip. So pay for both the tickets. Simple. You can't afford it, then don't go on that trip. Go on a different trip. Do something local or something. Don't make it seem like she can't afford that. It's really you can't afford it. And I think that's the conversation. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the end all means. Oh wow, that's a lot of noise. I think that's the end conversation of that. You don't have the money, you don't have the means, either that or you don't want to bring her. Because I don't see any reason, any logical reason that a man has a woman, he's been with her for years, he wants to take a trip, and then he's bringing up the question, well, are you gonna pay your own ticket? Like, what the fuck do you mean is she gonna pay her own ticket? That's fucking rude. The audacity you even have to even question that. Why would she have to pay her own ticket? You wanted to take the trip. Mhm. Okay, even if it's the other way and she's like, "Oh, babe, maybe we should take a trip." That's your girl. You're gonna be fucking putting her around your arm and shit, dragging her around here. You better pay for that trip, bro, or someone else will. And then you'll feel miserable. And then you'll probably get upset and want to fight the dude because someone else wanted to pick up the fucking, you know, pick up the mannerisms that you didn't want to do. Pick up the shit that you don't want to do, bro. That's just what it is. You don't want to be a real man, a real adult, then don't fucking just be gone. Fucking leave. Like not just fucking leave, like have sex and then leave and don't commit to anything. Stop wasting a lot of these women and men's time. That's insane. It's insane, man, to me. That's just what I believe. Again. But what can I say? These are all just my untitled opinions. and I tend to have a lot of them. But it is what it is. Continuing on, I will also come to a realization that abusive men are rarely single. Let's talk about that. Huh? Let's talk about that. Okay? Do you understand the topic there? That men who are abusive, and I'm not saying men are naturally abusive, they're not. But some men are abusive. Some men, go beyond the one slap or the one shake up. You know what I mean? Because I don't condone violence. I don't condone you putting your hand on your man or your woman. But I do understand, you know, a hiccup that happens in a relationship. You've been with someone for so long, and out of nowhere, a disrespect comes into play, or frustration with life and everything boggles you down, and then a hiccup happens. That's why I call it a hiccup. But you have to get over that as long as you're not doing that stuff every day. But there are some men who wake up and they're just some men and women who wake up and they're abusive. But why are these men who are abusive stay with women? Why are these men who are abusive got like 5 kids? How is that so? How are the men who are abusive, who get called for all these rape charges, he did this, he choked me, battery, assault, but they got kids with you? And is it hard to believe that it's true that they did these things? Or is it just a is it me saying, wow, if these men are that bad, why are they getting all the girls? Like, why are women choosing that? Is it the excitement that it's bad and maybe you could fix it, but you can't even fix your own life? Your life is not even fixed to walk and even open your mouth to say, maybe I could fix a man. What does your life mean when it's fixed as a woman? Like, because you got a job, you need that. You want money, right? You need to have a job, and that's up to you. That doesn't mean your life is fixed because you got an apartment. Doesn't mean your life is fixed. You don't own the apartment. Apartment building is owned by somebody else. You don't have no land. You don't have nothing. Your life is not fixed in a way or in a caliber for you to be talking to a man saying you're gonna fix him because you think he needs to be fixed, like he's some pet. You know, is that the attitude that women are having? Because that's insane to me. I don't understand how these men, rich or poor, because I've seen it both ways. I've seen rich men be abusive, still be women, still be and beat women, and they still get women, no problem. They may have done it once or twice or 3 or 4 or 5 times, but they still get women. I'm not saying I know these people personally, or I'm saying that they're bad guys. I'm just questioning why they keep getting all these women. Why are they getting women and the guys who are nice, who don't do all that crazy shit to you, they don't get a lot of women. They get the last hand of it. You know what I'm saying? Why is that? Are you so entitled to the thug life? Are you so entitled to spiciness? Like, "Oh, that's spicy. I think I can control it." And then when you can't control it, you're now the victim? That's insane. Is that how it happens? I need someone to answer these questions because that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You shouldn't be dating abusive men. But I also say I possibly said this back in another podcast. I believe we all need to be with family members or people who are helping us choose. You shouldn't be out there choosing yourself. You know what I'm saying? You make a lot of wrong choices. You shouldn't be out there choosing for yourself. You should be having people help you choose what I'm saying, who you should be with, who they believe is right for you, you know? Not to say that the relationship that you're gonna get into is not gonna be all it's all gonna be all, glitz and glam. There's not gonna be any bumps in the road. Of course there is. You should expect there's bumps in the road. That's fucking life, you know? Your face gets bumps, so there's bumps on the road. Shit happens. You know what I'm saying? So you get with it and then you move on. You fix it, you get better acne cream and lotion, and you wash your face better, you get a new face cloth, all that stuff. It's the same way with relationships, you know? You know what I'm saying? You wash it, clean it up, you rinse it, dry it out, throw it in the washer, and it come out nice and fresh, smelling good. But again, we need help choosing. You shouldn't be out there choosing abusive men because you saw that in your life and you think that you can fix that. And a lot of times, I don't really believe men are abusive. I believe the conversations can the conversations that you're having with these men sometimes can make it seem as if you're being disrespectful. And I've had this conversation with someone else before, and I was like, sometimes the outside world or the inside world is giving you so much problems that then someone else comes into play, and then you never actually got rid of all this turmoil inside of you, and you just blow up, blah, smack them, boom, him or her, whatever it is, and then, you make a mistake. But if you're doing that kind of mistake every day and you're staying with that person, what does that constitute you as? Like, what are you? Are you a sane person? Should you be going out here making sane choices for anything in life now? No, you shouldn't be. I don't believe you should. And I don't believe that's a mistake. I believe that's a mistake one time. If one time you get with a guy, he hits you, and then you've had like 3, 4 different relationships with men, and they've never hit you, great, all right. But if you're getting into multiple relationships where multiple people are hitting you, I think you're the fucking problem. I think you're the fucking problem. This is my entitled opinion, you know? Who am I? I mean, but if I'm not gonna say it, then who is? I mean, if not me, then who? I'm just saying. Don't get into these abusive relationships, or don't get into these situationships with abusive people, thinking you're God, or you're not gonna get the abuse into it. And possibly don't be the starter. You know what I mean? Don't be toxic. If you know that person abusive, don't rile them up. I see a lot of people do that shit too. But again, everybody's got their own characteristics and shit like that, and I really can't say what it is that makes people be abusive. But again, I can't really say why people, you know, tend to get more closer to abusive men. A lot of non-abusive men out there, they're alone. They ain't never hit a girl in their life, and they're alone. Do women see abusive men as strong? Because they go out there and they get their ass beat up by men. You know. So what does that say? He can beat your ass, but he can't beat no men up outside. That's insane. You know. Imagine you getting beat by a man, and then some next guy beats him up, and then what do? You home clean up his wounds. That's a shame. That's insane to me. Fucking leave that person. Like, man, you beat my ass and you can't even protect yourself outside. It's insane. What am I doing with my life? You know what I mean? Again, these are just my entitled opinions. Don't take everything I'm saying, because who am I? But if I don't say it, then who will? You know what I mean? That's just what I believe. All right? Get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? Let's hit some more of these topics. Um, oh wow, that was the first time. So men also, here's another one. Men aren't having sex at the rate women think they are. I don't even think men are buying, all right? They're not even buying at the rate women think they are. It's not a pandemic anymore, but you know, it's expensive outside. It's pricey outside. A lot of that stuff is costly now. You see what these women want. They want their breast done, after they want a bag, they want all these things. It's costly now. A lot of these dudes are just taking what they can take right now. I won't lie to you. They're taking what they can take and they're accepting it because they've gone years without having anybody. You know what I mean? A lot of men have gone years without ever being with anybody. And then when they finally get with that person, they stick to that person because you know what? They've seen what it's like to never be with anybody. And when a man is not with anybody, it's different from when a woman's not with anybody. Women get attention just because you are a woman. You're like a walking attention stick. But men don't get that same attention like you. So that man is walking this earth unattended to. The only thing that he's attending to is himself and his hand. That's it. Goes home alone. If he can afford it, he'll buy it, but he possibly won't. He'll possibly buy a toy and he'll stay like that. That's why pornos are so fucking expensive. Not expensive, but so valuable. They're so enormous. It's such a big company. Because a lot of males are home alone. Males and females. I'm saying a lot of women ain't sleeping out there. A lot of women are sleeping with the same dude. They're sleeping with If they're not sleeping with the same dude, they're sleeping with the same dude with other dude that the other dude or the other girl got. It's never a new person. They never. It's always slightly few one girl dating a new guy that no one's ever touched before. It's just fair. It's just rare because everybody wants a piece of what they've had or see what they've missed or what they could have done or or he was this good for you. I could get this, but why do you deserve that? You know, you're dating a man. Let's just take this consideration. You're dating a man that left a woman that he was dating for umpteen years. He was treating her good. They divorced and shit like that. You got a your sticky toxic relationship, and now he's telling you how he was good to her. He's like, oh, are you thinking to yourself, well, I deserve that, and you have to honestly think to yourself, do you really deserve that? You came from a toxic relationship. Did you fix yourself with that toxic relationship? Did you get a therapist, psychiatrist? Did you seek help? No, you wanna jump in here and get whatever is the good stuff that he was given so you can get it and then in return not reciprocate it, and possibly in return you do reciprocate, you know? But the possibilities sometimes are not the same. It's just my untitled opinion. You know what I mean? This is just my untitled opinion. Okay? A lot of these guys are going sexless, man. It's real out here. It's real in the field. Divorced men too. A lot of divorced men are going sexless. It happens. That's why a lot of men still sleep with their baby mom, because they're not fucking a lot of women out there. It's not really like that. And if they are, they have to step their game up, and do extra stuff to do that now. You know what I mean? It's not the same game anymore. They see it. Women are like, okay, bet. Step it up. Where's your car? Where's the meal? Where's the dinner? Where's the outing? Where's this? Where's this? Can I come through? Let me see what it is. You know what I mean? It gets to that, but it is what it is. It's just my entitled opinion about it. I'm just saying. A lot of men are having sex. A lot of the men that are having sex are recycled men. Okay, that's just my entitled opinion. A lot of people that are having this high sex stuff are recycled people. Okay, whether it's men or women, recycled men, recycled women. Just so I don't have I'm not playing a gender war or anything. It's recycled people. Okay, they're all having sex with recycled people. It's very few limited people who are like, yeah, I only had one. Like, yeah, I only slept with that one. Yeah, that was it. Maybe out of town shit and on vacation, but the bodies are slim. There's not a lot of guys out here that can get together and be like, oh yeah, we had her together. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that. A lot of girls that get together and say, oh yeah, I had him. You know, and that should be a rewarding thing. But it's not honorable nowadays. It's not honorable to get around a group of girls and to hear, "Oh, you never been with that nigga before?" You know what I'm saying? Never been with that guy before? Someone has they even made an app. They even made a T app to show you how recycled these women and men are. This is recycling. Why fuck with somebody? Why get with somebody new? Why fuck with somebody new? Why? A lot of these girls be dating security guards, valets, bouncers. You know what I mean? Average Joes, not even blue collar average, just average Joes. Understand that's crazy? And then they're going in this tea app and having these tea conversations about these average Joes. You're dating an average guy. Why are you going to look for tea for him? He's average. You meaning you're average at best. You're dating average men, you're average. I mean, you eat pizza, you like pizza, that's just average pizza. That's it. Okay. That's just what it is. You're just average pizza eater. You know what I mean? You don't eat the fine cuisine pizza, you know what I mean? That shit that's perfectly made and made all different than the regular pizza store, the corner stores and shit, you know what I mean? You don't eat that. We eat regular box pizza, you know what I'm saying? Domino's bullshit. You don't eat the good stuff. But that again, what I'm saying is it's just recycled and it's terrible. It's terrible. You know what I mean? When I was young, or as a youngin, to sleep with a lot of girls, that was just something that a lot of young kids thought about. But when I was young, a lot of these guys weren't sleeping with them. You know, they may have, what also I've noticed? A lot of guys were more thirsty to eat girls out or get their dick sucked than they're actually into the doing the sex act. Because in order to do the sex act, you'd have to actually have a location, and then in times like that, it was hard unless, you had a crowd or a situation where you had the building situated where you knew things were going down and people were coming in. And even then, that's a tight situation. So more of the time, they're just doing the foreplay thing, you know? And that's just young kids. But as you get older, it's like you're not trying to spread yourself so thin. I don't need to spread myself so thin. I don't need to be sleeping with everybody. I can get to know you, have a conversation with you, but doesn't mean we're gonna sleep together, you know. And I've also met people who slept, but not slept sexually with them. Like, yeah, I slept at her house, but I slept on the couch. She slept in her room. Got up, I left. You know what I mean? A lot of women think, see, that's weird too. I've done that, when I was younger coming up. Not necessarily I'm gonna sleep with all the girls I sleep with. I slept over there, I crashed over there, but I didn't sleep with them like that. You know what I mean? I've also was presented the situation too, like, oh, so it's not to sleep with each other. I'm like, it's just not for me. But that does happen. And a lot of times, a lot of men don't, or not even don't, are not ever in those situations for that to ever happen to them. A lot of men, listen, there's a lot of men out there who can never say they've actually rejected a woman. There's a lot of men out there who can actually say they were never even offered to have sex by a woman in that sense, where a woman was like, "Would you want to have sex with me?" There's a lot of men who can say they were never even in a foreplay situation. There's a lot of men who can't even read the room or read emotion that's coming from women to even not acknowledge that they're flirting with them. You gotta understand that too. You gotta let that sink in. You know, you gotta let that sink in. Some women may not be aggressive and want to, attack at sight and get to it because they want the men to come chase them. But again, a lot of men don't have that built into them either. You know, so they're just going through the motions. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. They're not all getting it. They wish they were getting it. Everybody wishes they were getting it, but they're not getting it. Some a selected few are getting it, and most of them have already have a kid. You know, they don't have already have a kid. They're probably a beautiful, handsome type of person. You know, spreading. And now again, I say you don't want to spread yourself thin. Oh man, moving on, moving on, moving on. You know what I mean? I know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How much time have we been on here for so long for so far? So far, we've only been here for about a half an hour, which is good timing. All right, good timing. Let's get through some more topics on this day. The topics are in the list there or in the description of our podcast today. You see, I'm trying to get better along with my disclaimer down there is also, you know what I mean? Also, we're gonna get the tags in there later on so I can promote it. And I'll also in the description link put our sponsors as well. All right. We'll move on, continuing on. Let's get to it. All right. Older women move into gated communities built or protected by men while saying they don't need men. One day I was watching HGTV, right? And they have these $1 million or lottery winner homes. That's what I was watching. So I was watching lottery winner homes. And in this case of the lottery winner home, this woman had to, she happened to win the lottery. She had won like about $1 million. When they gave her the money, she had gotten like 800,000. Okay. I was like, wow, that's a lot of money she got. So she got in the money and she was like, she wants to go live in a gated community. And to myself, I was like, wow, you got 800 fucking $1,000. Why would you want to live in a gated community? And then as the show progressed, she had a homegirl and her homegirl had a family. And she was like, well, I'm alone and I don't want to have this big house and all these stuff all these priorities, the maintenance to keep up with the house. I just rather live somewhere where, I just take out the garbage and I can, in the gated community, we can have somebody come in and then they can go ahead and look at the apartment and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, you see? And this one was 65. I'm like, wow, that's a good age to hit the lottery, 65 and shit, $800,000 in your bank. But that's not really gonna last you for too long because you're gonna need some money coming in. You're gonna have to make some smart investments. So now she's like, oh, the first thing that came into mind, or at first that caught me, what she said, she was like, yeah, I want to make sure I move into a good gated community that has good men there. Because she was going about her life, not needing a man. So now that she's hit the lottery, she's got this money. Now she wants to have a man. I'm like, that's insane. What happened before? You think I'm like, now the type of man you're gonna get is the one you won't respect. You see how fucked up the game is that you're trying to pick and choose and be selective for when you get the man, but it doesn't really work that way. And a lot of stuff in life don't really work the way you really want it to sometimes, most of the time. So when she's going about it this way, so she's talking to the realtor And the realtor's like, yeah, there's a lot of local guys around here, and it's a gated community. Like another apartment right next to you is not too far from you. So if anything were to happen, someone would know, and they'd be close by. And that also was a conversation she was having. She was like, her friend said, okay, you want to make sure you get a house or a place where if anything happens, you know, emergency people can come in quicker. You don't want to get a house and then you might be rotting in your house for a few days because nobody knows, you know. Not to say that she can't get like a device that tell her that she hasn't been responsive, but there's things that happen. But in this gated community, they have people that come by, do your lawn, pick up your garbage, all these things. They have a pool there. So she's very watched, or she's very, being watched. Yes, she's being watched. Everyone knows everyone in that area, so if she doesn't come by or doesn't hop out of her house for a day or two, they would know something is going on. You know what I mean? Nosy people in that gated community. It happens. But to say that, or where I'm going with that is, it's very scary as you get older as a woman that you haven't been pursuing men earlier. Because you don't want to get into a predicament where you've gotten accustomed, and now that you're gotten accustomed to being alone and accustomed to this specific lifestyle that you're living, or this specific style of life, you want to enter a man into it. And a lot of men who are, a men of any caliber, when they come into that lifestyle, they're trying to not just to cut, not just compromise to your accustomed life. They're trying to come in there and put structure in there because they believe you need structure. Most men think that. They're coming in there thinking that they're gonna, be the leader. So now that you're getting someone and you're putting in the leader's shoes, it kind of puts a strain on the man to want to do anything real positive that's in a leading way in that relationship. You're basically having a child, you're basically having a kid, you know. You'll have sex with it, sure, but it's basically a kid. You're taking care of it. You won't be fulfilled. Yeah, you'll have somebody, but will you be happy? you know. And I say that to say that we all need somebody. Everyone should have somebody. Everyone should be with somebody. Regardless of the situation or the climate, whatever it is, you should have somebody. You should go out there and you should look for somebody. You shouldn't be alone. You shouldn't wait so long to be alone either. That sucks. Who wants to be dying, in the hospital, and then the only people you see is the nurses, and that they have a job. You think they're like your actual real friends and shit? No, you have relatives and shit like that. I'm saying you possibly have people you love that you didn't follow through with, and then you're alone. No one wants to be alone, man. That sucks. I think that's the scary thing for a lot of people. I think that's why a lot of people get animals. Just my opinion. Moving on. Um, if you, I think we talked about that. If you classify her as your girl or wife, treat her as such. Yeah, I believe if you're out here dating women for wife potential to be in a relationship, you need to stop hanging out with your single friends. You need to court her like you want her to be courted like your wife, and you need to act as such. You know, don't go out here thinking you could be hanging with your single friends all the fucking time. They're toxic. They're not going anywhere. You're in a relationship, and a relationship builds community. And that community, you need to have stronger relationships with other people who are in relationships. You can't be taking advice or opinions from people who aren't in a relationship. Okay? You need to be coupled up. You're fucking coupled up with your girl. Treat her as your girl. Treat her as your wife. All right? You can stop by places and then grab a drink and then go. Unless you're there with people that are all coupled up and stuff like that, you need to go home. Make make your home your entertainment with your wife and your girl. Do that. Be happy with having your fucking girl or your man. Okay, not to say that you can't go out one night alone. You know what I mean? Because it's not really you going out alone. You're going out for a few hours and you're coming back home. But don't make it seem like you don't have somebody. You have somebody. You have somebody. Okay. A lot of people don't have nobody. Be real with yourself. All right. Okay. And that goes on to my next topic. Men in relationships should hang with a couple people. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you think. You should be hanging with a couple people. Your girl should be able to talk to another girl across the table that's in a relationship, and they should be talking and mingling about that. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be, you know, you guys going out to the club and always chilling. That's not a really a good environment, you know? Especially if you're trying to build a foundation out of that, trying to build something out of that, you need to be around people who are, putting through or getting through relationships successfully. You know what I mean? And when I say successfully, they're trying their hardest and not giving up. Don't be around quitters. If you be around quitters, you're gonna be a quitter too. Hang around bums, you're gonna be a bum too. You're not gonna. How are you avoiding hanging around bums? You know, it's my entitled opinion. Okay, it's my entitled opinion. Why do women glow up after a breakup but didn't grow during the relationship? You know what's insane? I've seen a lot of TikToks where women be like, "Yeah, I was with him for 5 years, and he made me look bad. And after the 5 years, I'm dolled up. I'm glamorous now." That's insane. That's insane. Was God not with you in those time where you were with your man? Were you so lost with your relationship that God wasn't there, your sanity wasn't there? You just like, yeah, fuck it. And he gained all this weight, and he still loved you. Yeah, she still loved you, but the relationship was toxic and shit. Why not change? Why do people or humans accept some of the bare minimum when love is involved? When love is involved, I seem like, well, at least as long as they love me, that's all that matters to me. Is it really? Fucking, that's insane. Is that really all that matters? Is that because that person, you know, can think otherwise? You should be the best. You know how I see it. My entitled opinion. However you want to present yourself to God is how you should present yourself to men, to your lover. You know how you want to be presented to God. Say if God was to come down tomorrow and he was and you about to go see him, or they had a line set up to have a meeting with a one-on-one with God, and you had to come your best way. That's how you should be. Whenever you're looking for your best spouse out there, you should be at your best. Not to say they're not gonna love you at your you're not best. Of course they're going to, but you should always be shooting to stay at your best. It seems like we get into relationships and we're no longer competing. We get into relationships and we get stagnant. We become okay. We lose all hope of doing anything but being in this relationship. And then people cheat, people get angry, it gets toxic, and then they break up. And then she's outside having fun, and he's probably sad because he's like, Jesus Christ, I was just trying to, get shit right to how it was when I first met her. But again, people change in relationship. It happens. But again, you shouldn't have to glow up after a breakup. You should always be glowing up during a relationship. You should make it you should make it where it's, a priority where you're constantly bettering yourself in a relationship when you're with someone. Whether it's your look, your physicals, your mental, whatever it is, you should always be bettering yourself because the more you better yourself, the more that looks good on the relationship, the more that it gets respected by the relationship. That's what's important, you know? You need people to have respect and boundaries. If you don't present that, they won't have respect or boundaries for you and your relationship. You know what I mean? They'll come in there and distract it, diminish it, tarnish it. They'll do all possible things because you don't have respect for it yourself. That's just an entitled opinion I have. You know what I mean? It gets. I can understand why it would happen. I can understand being with somebody. Your weight fluctuates, and then when you're done, you're done with that relationship. The relationship didn't go out you expected. Now you've lost the weight, and because you got to go back onto the market. No one wants a old ginger ale. They want a new shaped bottle of ginger ale. They don't want the old shaped can. They want a new, taller, slimmer can. You know, it's fine. You get those regular small cans you see at the store, but if you get a can that looks like one of those slimmer beer cans, one of those Celsius cans, that looks nice. So you can remarket it, rebrand it, and I can understand that. I can understand that why that happens. But you have to keep up with the appearances while you're in a relationship. Don't wait until you get out of this relationship and now you're the finest thing walking on earth because men see that. Men see that and they take that into consideration. Like, okay, wow, you was in a relationship for however long. and this is how you look, and it took you however long to break up with that person so you can start looking like this. Come on, what do you think this person thinks of that? You know, that's just my entitled opinion. All right, it's just what I believe, or what I'm thinking. Are people improving for the market and not their partner? What's your what's your opinions on it? I think people are improving for the market and not their partner. I believe humans, it's just a human trait. I believe humans like to be desired. So they desire to make themselves look better for the market, even though they may be unavailable for the market. You get a lot of shiny objects that are being presented in the glass that you can't touch, that's unavailable, but you can buy something that's something similar to it. Like in a jewelry store. You go to the jewelry store, you look at the cases and then he pulls out another one that's similar to it. He's like, yeah, that one's just, for show. We had the real one in the back. That's how it is a lot of times outside. A lot of people are improving for the market and not their partner. They're improving their looks and all that, improving their social media for the market, for people outside to see, but their relationships and their partner, it's just a stagnant, something that's not improving there. If it is improving, it's improving on a smaller scale. It's not improving where it's flourishing into the community, it's flourishing into the churches, it's flourishing where, people are like, "Hey, we look up to that relationship." It doesn't. People would rather have their looks improve in their market so people could look up to that, like, "Oh, yeah, look, I'm fresh. Look at that. She's so beautiful, and look how wow, she's wearing that, and, oh, look at the jewelry he's got on, look at the car he came out on," you know what I mean? But their partner may not be happy, what I'm saying, in that situation they're in. But again, that's just my entitled opinion. That's just here and there or there to say. Who knows? Are women afraid of relationships because they require structure and accountability? I think men and women are afraid of relationships because they require structure and accountability. Not just women. I don't ever want to make this a he-man woman haters club. Not to say that I'm not part of the Heat Man Woman Haters Club, you know what I'm saying? But this is not the podcast for that. This is the podcast for the accountability and the untitled opinions that I have. You know, as a male myself, I can take accountability. There's a lot of times you get into certain relationships, and when you get in a relationship, like you don't want to provide a structure in this. You just want to go with the flow, as some people would say. You just want to have fun, and a lot of, as humans, we get scared of that because we know where certain roads can lead and how the pressure can lead up to certain people not wanting to do this relationship. And sometimes in that fun state that we're in, we don't want to we don't want to be accountable. That's really what it is. Humans don't want to be accountable. They want to have the access but don't want to be accountable for anything. A lot of humans don't want to be accountable for anything. And I see that happening a lot of times. So it's just not a woman thing. It's a male and a female thing. A lot of times, it may be more women that are afraid of relationships, and I sometimes see that. I see women in a group of 5, say a group of 5, 6 women, right? Out of the group of 5, 6 women, 2 of them are in a relationship. 1 of them are a baby mom, and the rest aren't with anybody, you know? And the 2 that are in a relationship, 1 of them is the only one that's in a serious relationship. She's married, or she's been with that person for a long time. The other one, off and on, and then you have the baby mom. And you have the other 2 friends who aren't in a relationship. They're the constant, go out to eat, the friend, they got situations going on all the time, you know? And that plays into effect where you're like, "Wow," there's not a lot of women out here who are in these relationships because they're scared. They see in that friend group, they see that, okay, I saw my homegirl. She's there, and most of the time, her homegirl's reflecting to her or sharing things with her, and she's like, "Wow, I don't want to go through that shit." But it's like she went through that. Who's to say that you're gonna go through that? So now she's scarred. She's scarred and scared, Someone scarred her from possibly experiencing that. Someone scarred her from possibly experiencing that, having a child. Like, "Oh, well, a lot of these men be leaving these women to have babies on their own, so I don't want to be another, statistic," which I can understand. That's understandable. No one wants to be a statistic, you know what I mean? No one wants to be a statistic. I can understand that, but at the same sense, you can't be scared. You can't be going around here saying I'm gonna be the rich auntie, you know. And at times, in my untitled opinion, I just think a child is not presented or option for you sometimes. And then when it is, the more that you deny having a child at the time when it's presented for you, when you want to have it, won't be the time that you want to have it. And it's possibly going to be with the wrong person. You can't hold off on that too long because you don't really know. Like I said before, we're all making wrong choices. It's a gamble the way we're playing out here. So you're gambling with this with your life on when you're gonna have a child. And by the time, so let's say you're 23, you're like, oh well, all my homegirls or my people around me are have kids, especially like my sister and my cousin, they all have kids, but I'm waiting. I want to have fun and get my life together. And then 26 comes along. Then 29 comes along. Then comes 32. Now you're hitting 32. Now at this age, you're meeting men or you're meeting women who have babies or have kids now, and now you have to deal with that. A lot of the times you don't want to be dealing, especially if you're young, you don't want to be dealing with someone who has kids. You can bring that into that for them. You can be that option for them. You don't want to be dating people who already have second, third lives because now you're trying to work your way into that second and third life. You're not a priority. And I believe as humans, a lot of humans want to be the main priority, which is natural. You want to be the main reason for everything. I can't blame you, but that doesn't mean you should be afraid to get in relationships. A lot of relationships require structure, and structure doesn't mean you can't have fun. You can't be with your homegirl. Structure just requires that you need to understand there's some things that don't work for the betterness of the relationship. They don't work for the company. That's how you have to see as that's how you see real estate relationship. They don't work for the logo. They don't work for the brand. Not everything you do with your friends works for the brand. It's not working for the brand. You have to take that accountability that the man's also thinking the same way. Not everything he's doing out there, works for the brand. Of course, you make mistakes. He makes mistakes. That happen. You have to take accountability, understand that people make mistakes. It's okay. You know what I mean? It fucking happens. Moving on. You know what's crazy, man? I was in the gym. I've gotten back into the gym heavy now. Normally, when I go in the gym, I go fucking crazy. I go in the gym and I lose myself. I'm just losing myself in the music and I'm just working out. So I worked out these past 2, 3 days. And the last day I worked out, I mean, I was in the gym for like 2 hours. And I didn't feel, bad or I didn't feel like, oh, like my muscles were tense or anything like that. As soon as I fucking woke up that morning, I didn't even wake up that morning. I woke up in the middle of the night like, I couldn't feel I couldn't feel my fingers, you know what I mean? Like, I was like, "Oh, shit." Like, there was no blood flowing to my fingers because the way I was laying. I guess my muscles were so tensed up and so, inflamed, they were blocking blood flow to my hand, and then I was just so tight. I was like, "Oh my god, I can't even move my arms from all that working out, all that exercise," but that feeling is good. That feeling that exercise high is like, wow, it's sometimes it hurts. Yeah, it hurts. No one wants to feel that pain, but they have that saying, no pain, no gain. You feel that pain, complaining about it, but you're like, yo, you know what comes with this pain. You know what comes out after this. You know what I'm saying? Wow, someone's calling me during a podcast. That's insane. Hopefully they can leave a message and all that. Hopefully I didn't interrupt the speakers and all that shit. Because last time, our last podcast, I was getting a lot of interruption here and there or off clicks. We're working, people. We're working. All right. We're trying to get this podcast up and going and working correct. All right. This is like episode 18 and shit. So we're working our way into getting better at this. Soon we'll have like two mics. We'll start having people come by and giving their untitled opinions. We'll probably do Zoom calls with people sometimes and go through the comments. People, comment once in a while. People join the live. Hopefully. Who knows? We never know the scale that this could go. I think this is gonna go to the fucking galaxy into a wormhole and then blow up in that wormhole. You know what I'm saying? I think this is gonna be amazing. I think once we get into more of the topics and the discussions and the realness about things, I think this will be a great podcast for everyone to listen to, and to leave your comments. I see we have one comment. Shout out to that person who left the comment. I appreciate. Shout out to all my subscribers. We love you over here at Untitled Opinions. You're fucking great. I'm gonna probably hire somebody else to also help me assist with all my podcasting. So when this is coming through with our sponsors and shit like that. When our sponsors are kicking in, we'll be kicking out too. But moving on. Let's see how far we're into here. Let's see what's going on here. What that? Oh, almost an hour here. So we'll get up into an hour onto this podcast, and then from the hour, we'll give a half an hour to the wax shoe segments. You know what I mean? We'll give like a half an hour, 20 minutes for that. You know what I'm saying? But let's go on to the next topics here. Again, like I said, the topics are in the description. This is a new way I'm doing it for this podcast episode. So you can always go to the topics that I'm talking about, leave comments, things like that, etc., etc. Moving on. Okay, we did the rich auntie. I don't think the rich auntie life should be glorified. Motherhood isn't a burden. I think motherhood is like the best possible thing next to creating, anything in life. When you're a mom or you create life, that's just amazing. The fact that you get to watch life that you created go through life itself is a movie. We all watch movies, we all watch shows. It's amazing. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of them need to get over that and enjoy that and accept that. Men aren't. Here's another topic. Our next topic: men aren't making apps to expose women because they still hope they'll be chosen differently. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this recently. You know, us men, we're not. Us men will rather go to the barber shop and talk about sports than talk about the women that we're dating. That's not a lot of other men's business. We're gonna do our history and our fact checks and our back checks on it, sure. But if she was with you, she was with you, she's not with you anymore. You know what I mean? That's just how a lot of guys roll, and that's it. And we hope we don't fucking come around anymore. But it seems like when women date certain men and they're all dating the same men, they need to make a T app, which is ridiculous. And then look, they made the T app, and then the T app, like all apps, got scanned or got hacked. Everything is getting hacked. Why wouldn't you believe that's getting hacked? What's so good about a T app as women that it's not gonna get hacked? You didn't have enough women hackers over there for it not to get hacked? Stupid shit, man. You should see that women as how women are trying to make y'all decline. You should be like, wow, look what we did as women, and look what we all thought was a good idea, and look how we're fucking scammed now. They took all our information. It's insane. But no one's gonna see it like that. Men aren't trying to expose women in that way. If we are exposing women that way, we're exposing because she might have slept with four of our best friends or two of our best friends or some shit like that. We're not exposing her because she dated Jeffrey or John and them down the street or some dudes I went to high school back in the day. No, I'm not gonna sit in the app and talk about that. That's stupid. Don't even want to fucking know, bro. Nah, man, keep that shit to yourself. I don't want to know. Because men would get disrespectful. Men would get so disrespectful, you would have to leave that chick. He wouldn't even want to stay with you. Because the conversations wouldn't go any way the women would want it to. Trust me. Okay, it wouldn't be how you think it would go. It'd be horrible. It would be a very disrespectful conversation where he would have to check the man and the man would have to check himself and you at the same time. You know what I'm saying? All right, that's just my entire opinion. Moving on. Men are judged by looks and finances before character and morals. And I think that's the issue with a lot of relationships. I believe because we're in a social media age or the AI age now, or the age of information, that where a lot of men are being judged by their looks and finances, and then later on your character and morals. Because right now your looks has to be appealing for her to want to, let you in. It has to be some appealing draw to for her to feel awe about you. And if the appeal doesn't appeal, then it has to be the finances. Your finances have to scream you're making bucks, you're making money. And if it screams you're making money and you don't look so appealing, she can still go with that. You know, she can go with that. But now let's put it a different way. Let's say you're fucking broke, but you look good, you know, but you have horrible character. Now she's stuck with something like she can move on. It's like, you would have to be handsome, like beautiful. Then she can kick your character, your finances, and your morals out the window until 6 months, where she's like, wow, he has horrible morals. and horrible character. He's just a beautiful man, you know? Is that normal to do? Like, a lot of men do it too. A lot of men go out there and they get the fine ass girl. She's so fine. Her body is 10, face 10. But does she have real morals? Does she have character? I mean, now we're never worried about her finances. She has to be financially stable mentally. Like, girl, if I'm giving you if I'm giving you a payment, I'm giving you money every time, and every time I'm giving you money, you're never saving. It's not financially, financially, mentally right over in your head. You know what I'm saying? You're not financially stable in your head. Can't do that. Man giving you money all the time, you gotta be saving some of that money sometimes, not spending common sense, you know. But again, you're a lot of our character and morals get overlooked, especially, everyone's in the hype of looks and style, look, style, and finances. You have to look good, smell good, and have money, And then when you finally meet that look good, smell good, and have money, he's got AIDS, got HIV. He beats women. If he doesn't beat women, he screams, or there's something wrong. Not to say that there isn't people out there who have the good looks, the finances, and they have good character and good morals. Not to say that there isn't. There are people like that, but a lot of us aren't finding that because we're not going with the honest route. We're not going with the honest route. You should go out there and look for people who have good looks and have good character with their looks. And then along with that character, you can question their morals, their morale. And then you figure out their finances. You know what I mean? That's just how I see it. It's my entitled opinion. But who am I to say? You know what I mean? But again, if not me, then who? I believe a lot of you should my opinions for what it is. Opinions. Fuck it. Moving on. If relationships are my fault. If relationships around you aren't successful, what makes you think yours will be? That's a good one. If relationships around you aren't successful, what makes you think yours will be? It's hard when we've all possibly grown up, in a single household or single parents or, around people who weren't in successful relationships. It's hard. I personally believe it's my entitled opinion. It's hard for me to accept that people are out there making great relationships out of never knowing what relationships are. If you never know what type of work that is, how are you successful at the work? You don't know what type of work that is. You don't know what engineers do. So how could you be a successful engineer? Someone has to teach you. You have to go to school, get a teaching, be around people, professors and stuff like that that can tell you about that life and that those theories and that engineering and all that stuff. And they tell you. And then from that experience you go on. But if you're in constant relationships and prior to that relationship, you're not, or prior to those relationships, you're not even cool with your mom, you're not cool with your dad, you're not cool with your brother, you're not cool with your sister, you're not cool with your cousins, you're flip floppy with all your relatives. If you're flip floppy with all your relatives, why do you believe you're not going to be flip floppy with the people outside? Why do you owe people more loyalty than your own flesh and blood? And why do you think they'll take that serious from you? Wouldn't that strike you as a red flag? That they're willing to go against your own flesh and blood with you because you have a problem. Isn't that odd? You wouldn't want to do that, right? That's not something that you should be doing. That's not right. You know, you should you should be going about life trying to mend all the relationships that you have in your life before going out there to have relationships with other people. Okay? You should be making sure that you're not out here holding anything against anybody so you can go out there and have a successful relationship. Just like you do at work and anything else. You know what I mean? You should go out there with the theory that this is the best, work field for you, and then you should go out there and be successful. Go out there and be around people who have done that type of work. That's my entitled opinion. If you're hanging around with friends who've only worked at McDonald's, how it's highly odd you're gonna be working on Wall Street. That's fucking weird. How did out of all your friends, you're the only one working on Wall Street? How the fuck did that happen? Well, I went to school and These guys just want to stay on the corner. Yeah, I doubt they're gonna be your friends for too long. That dynamic's gonna change. The guys that you work with are gonna be like, "Yo, bro, stop hanging around with those guys. I fucking need them." You know what I mean? It all will change you. It'll change you, bro. If relationships around you aren't successful, it's not highly possible because they're gonna be successful with you unless you're out there working hard at it. And that's one thing in the fine line that's possible. If you're out there making the impossible possible, it's going to work. Okay, and I'm not trying to say that you have to have the best relationship with your relatives, but you need to have a mutual respect. When you see them, it's hey, how you doing? Not like, oh, I hate her, I can't stand him, or I can't, any of that negative, harsh thing that you have with your family is gonna be reflected out there on yourself. It's gonna be reflected on your character. Trust me. Trust me. You got beef with your family, you're gonna have beef with people outside too. They're no different. Your family ain't no different from the people outside. Besides that they were in the same house with you. You know what I mean? Oh, that's just my entitled opinion. All right, next topic. Are you abstinent because you're disciplined or because you don't have options? Mm? Let's talk about that. Are you withholding sex, calling it abstinence, because the sex that you were having didn't equate to what you wanted it to be? Mm? Is it? Or are you saying you're abstinent because you think you have options to sleep with all type of men? You know? And do a lot of women sit down and be like, "Well, like, do you really have options? Like, are men really dying to sleep with you?" Like, because if men are dying to sleep with you, that means you have to do some of the work. You have to actually approach them like, "Hey, you wanna come home with me?" Because a lot of men, I'm gonna say this, 85% of the men are never going to approach you and say they wanna go home with you. Those is that's only for the bold and the beautiful, alright? The bold and the beautiful get that. Not every man out there could do that. Not every man's got that skill. That's why he gone. He gotta be real. He gotta be real with himself and be like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna do that." So that's what I'm asking. Are women really you are really women abstinent or you don't even have the option? And sometimes that it may not even be you don't have the option. You may feel as though you don't wanna sleep with a lot of men, but do a lot of men wanna sleep with you? Like, is that really like, do you really think about that? Like, yes, men wanna sleep with women, of course. Of course, men wanna sleep with women. That's a way we get to know you. But do they wanna sleep with you? A lot of men may wanna sleep with you and get rid of you because, you're not worth the pain and headache after that. Maybe something wrong with you. But are you keeping yourself abstinent because of that? I don't think you should withhold sex in your life because I think that's a natural thing that a lot of people need. I think withholding sex can possibly cause you, a lot of diseases down the line. You're not having natural shit going on through your body, come out of your body. It's fucked up. You're gonna get sick and shit. But if you're withholding it because you're like, well, I haven't found the right man, like that's insane. No fucking guy's trying to hear that bullshit. Oh no, I'm abstinent because all these men just want to have sex. All of them want to have sex. All of them. What do you want to have? And then why is sex now seem like sex is rape? Like, they're now making sex way more than what it is, man. They're fucking and I'm starting to believe it's because there's people who never had sex. I'm starting to understand, this is my entire opinion, or I'm starting to believe that a lot of women who never had sex, when they finally had sex, it traumatized them. So they traumatize other people. you know? And then that trauma has brought to the other people like, "Oh, yeah, well, I don't want that feeling. I don't wanna feel like that. I don't want that to happen to me." And it's like, girl, she don't even give fuck like that. Like, some one guy one guy out of her miserable life, you know what I'm saying? Excuse me, I'm not saying that your life is miserable. Out of her life of existence, finally slept with her, gave her a chance, and it wasn't what he thought it was. So she felt nasty after it. I'm pretty sure he felt nasty after it, but that shouldn't scar you from having sex. Shouldn't scar you to be telling people, "Well, now I'm abstinent." No, maybe you should go fucking practice. You know, I'm not saying go out there and be a whore. That's disgusting. I'm saying practice with yourself. Get yourself one other person. Like, I wasn't good before. Let me get this through. You know what I'm saying? Sex should be sexual. It should be a good thing. It shouldn't feel nasty. It shouldn't feel like, oh my God, like you're taking something from me. You know what I mean? I think that's what a lot of women are making it feel like nowadays because a lot of women aren't having that option to have sex anyway. So like, well, if no one wants to fuck me, I'm just gonna tell all the women not to have sex. That it's just rape, and then we can just all scissor. No one can enter us. That's insane. Again, this is my entitled opinion. It's my thought. I think that's just insane. You know what I mean? Again, I'm not saying that women aren't. I'm not saying that rape is okay. Rape is horrible, but I'm not saying rape and sex are the same thing. You can have sex with someone and it be emotional, physical, and it be enticing. You can feel like the world is, shaking and the mountains are moving. But some women can have sex and feel the opposite. But you can't put that trauma onto everybody else. You can't put that, how some Brooklyn people would say, you can't put that stain. You can't put that stain onto someone else. That's not fair. You know, that's just not fair. Let's see how much time we're at. Well, we're already into an hour here. We haven't even gone through all of our topics for today. You know what I mean? We haven't even gone through it. Let's go through a few more, and then we'll end it with that, and then we'll start with our who asked yous. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Should everyone who wants to be chosen actually be? Like, yeah, I don't think everyone. I said before, I don't think everyone deserves to be in a relationship. I think a lot of people should be in, couple day relationships, like, flings. I don't think everyone deserves that. I don't think everyone has the morale and character or the understanding of what comes into being a relationship. You know what I mean? If you don't have foundation, if you don't come from foundation, don't come out here trying to make foundation. You know what I'm saying? That's just where I come. That's my entitled opinion. Next thing. Let's see. Let's see. Being called too masculine when it's actually how men maintain peace and structure. So I don't understand that. How masculine do some women want their men? Is it possible that your man could be too masculine, where you're like, oh well, he's macho. I don't like my man being macho, But then if you don't like your man being macho, there's some instances in his life where he has to keep that macho attitude so other men don't think he's pussy. Do you compromise your sanity as a woman? Like, well, ah, I like him. That macho shit is nothing. He doesn't act macho with me. He just acts macho outside. Do you take that into consideration? Or you just like, I don't need a man that's too masculine for me. I don't need that. Like, I've dated women who were like, because I was going to the gym, like, oh, what do you want to get big and buff? I don't really like that. I don't like that look. I don't like men who are extra strong. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, you can never win as a man. I didn't went through so many changes as a man, body changes. Like, I done went through the change where I was skinny and I was told I was just too skinny. What are you gonna do with me? You're too skinny. And then I went through the phase where I was too big. Oh, you're too big, you're too fat, you're too heavy, you're sweaty, right? When fat guys wasn't in, skinny guys was in, fat guys wasn't in. Now fat guys are in, skinny guys are not in. They're like, oh, you're too skinny. Okay, so now I went through the phase of having the muscles. I was looking very muscular, looking, like I could put you through a wall. And women would look at me like, wow, you look, you know, intimidating. And it's like you can't win. Where do you win? And it's like, what's insane? If the shoes on the other foot, I don't know the shoes on the other foot. If they had met that same man, but with like one M behind his name, like you met me when I was skinny, but I had $1 million, my skinniness wouldn't even matter. If they had met me when I was fat and I had $1 million, my fat wouldn't even matter. If they had met me when I had muscles and I had $1 million, my muscles would never matter. They had met me when I was macho and I had $1 million, my macho wouldn't even matter. You see how that's fucked up? Shit is insane. That shit is insane. This is my entitled opinion. Okay. Some men want families, but that doesn't mean they want kids fast. All right. A lot of times women are like, well, I don't want to be dating guys because he wants a kid, or we're having sex and we're having unprotected sex and he's just nutting in me. he just wants the kid fast. I don't think a lot of men want kids fast. I don't think that. I think a lot of men, a lot of people get into relationships to have a family. Yes, but not have a family right away in due time. But again, you have to be you have to take accountability in a relationship and be very communicative. If you're not communicating that you're not in a rush, then who's to know? You guys are having unprotected sex. You could get pregnant real quick. What are you gonna abort it? And I've seen a lot of women do that. Well, I wasn't ready. I hadn't aborted, or they had a miscarriage, and things happen. But you have to communicate this thing in the relationship. If you're not communicating it just seems like you're not really being honest. And that right there is a strong foundation to having a successful relationship. Honesty, honesty and communication. You know. Next, let's go on. We'll do one more, and then that's it. Long distance should have an end goal where someone moves. Listen, I'm for relationships, whether it's close relationships, long distance, poly, monogamous, whatever, having relationships. But if you're having long distance relationship, the end goal or the ultimate goal in this long distance relationship is to end the distance. You know, it should only take you about 3 to 5 months. Okay. And I mean that's after talking three to 5 months. You've already talking to the person for 3 to 5 months, and you have already met once or twice and already fucked. By the second fucking, you guys should be talking about how you're going to relocate together, either on his side or her side, whatever it is. And if that's not possible, then that should be an ended relationship where you should be able to take accountability that you got with someone that you weren't even capable of fucking taking in because it wasn't what you were really ready for. You know, as a human being, a lot of us do that. A lot of us get into these long distance relationships. They're not really looking to move you in, and even the other one's not really looking to move because you have to understand, person moves, it's gonna take them a while to get a job. And a lot of people aren't ready for that. And again, it's all about what you're ready for and what you're willing to take along in this relationship. If you're not ready for that, then yeah, then call it quits. It's all cute in games on the phone and FaceTime and shit, the vibe, and it's all cool with the vibe. But when it gets down to real life shit, you gotta ask yourself, are you moving here or I'm moving there? Which one is it? You buying the house or I'm buying the house? Am I getting an apartment? Are we going half on an apartment or what it is? You shouldn't be in a long distance relationship and consider getting apartment for the both of you and then you're paying for everything. That sounds stupid. The fuck? It's a long distance relationship. Wherever that person was shouldn't have been broke. And if they are, you shouldn't be dating people in a long distance relationship that are broke. You could date people closer to you that are broke. Why are you dating someone that is so far away from you that doesn't have any money, but doesn't have the means to say, you know what, I have some money saved up. Hopefully you have something saved up, and then you can move to where I'm at, and then we can work on that from here. You know, that's just a logical. That's a real man move. You know what I'm saying? If you're a real man, that's what you would do. What you want her to do. Even if she can move you'd have to present to her like, okay, I'm gonna move to where you at. I have some money. I'm gonna send you the money. Go ahead and find us an apartment. It may not be all the money in the world to get the first, last, and the rent, but it's something. I'm not saying no $200, man. You gotta come up with at least half a band, 500 to $1,000. You know what I mean? Anything less than that, it's just grocery. All right. Moving on. Moving on. Let's get to it. Let's get to some of these breaking news. Let's get to some of this news atlas, World Star Hip Hop. We'll go through our Who Asked You segment of our day. Yes, yes, yes. Who Asked You? This segment is brought to you by your boy, your one and only, your boy Ray Cruz. We want to know who asked you. All right. And at all times, you should be asking yourself, who asked you? Trump says there's real starvation in Gaza, contradicting Netanyahu. Netanyahu. I can never say that person's name right. Yeah, I saw this on the news. Where I've been seeing the live updates of the food shortages out there. But who asked y'all not to send them food? You know what I'm saying? Like heavy on the sending them food. This should be an active thing where they're always sending food. But I can understand where it's like a war thing, and then even they are sending food, the food ration isn't being rationized as it should be. There's scavengers, there's people who haven't eaten for so long, they're taking more, and there's people who want more, you know what I mean? I can understand that. But this should be a global thing where everyone in the globe is putting their efforts in to provide food for these people because again, we're not asking for the war to stop, or we're not asking for, whatever their issue is to stop and, find a resolution the next day, but we're asking for, the globe and the world to have some type of empathy, empathize with these people, to send the food, you know what I mean? Send something. I mean, if I could send some, I'd send some. You know what I mean? Who asked you not to send that food, man? Send them food every 6 hours on the hour. There should be planes dropping every 24 hours with food. You know what I'm saying? There's not a food shortage in the globe that you can't send them food. That's just my opinion. Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, urges Supreme Court to overturn her conviction. Ma'am, who asked you to even dare to ask the Supreme Court to overturn your conviction? Yo, Epstein killed himself, or he's in whatever island he is. Ma'am, you were helping a pedophile do pedophile shit. You were basically a madam helping men get women in all types of way. Like, girl, please sit in that jail. All right, you should be rotting in that jail. If you ask me, who asked you to even? She understands the Epstein controversy right now, so she's like, "Oh, I'm trying to get me my way out." This is insane. That's insane. Let's see what else is here. Judge blocks federal funding ban on Planned Parenthood locations nationwide. Who asked you to do this? The judge blocked the federal funding. Who actually blocked the federal funding of Planned Parenthood? You know, they need that. They need that, man. Russians can now fly to North Korea. South Koreans still can't. Damn, who asked you? Huh? And why do the Russians want to go to North Korea for? Hmm? Some wild shit over there going on, man. Who actually be up on them motherfucking Koreans, man? Let's go on to New Atlas. New Atlas is, it's always a better way. There's always some new technology and innovation they have over here. So I like to come through here. But look at this. A sixth generation fighter takes shape and edges closer to takeoff. Look at this. Look at this. This looks AI. It doesn't even look real. The whole background and everything. Look at this. The first 100% effective HIV prevention drug is approved and going global. Who asked you not to have that shit beforehand? Who asked you not to have that shit in CVS, Walgreens, everywhere, huh? That shit's crazy. Insta360 zooms into mini camera drone space with anti gravity. Ooh, who asked you not to give us that, huh? We want to have a telescope that could look from our house, our back porch, that could look into space into anti-gravity, huh? Who asked you not to build that? The fuck? The dietary mineral can protect, or this dietary mineral can protect aging brains from cognitive decline. Who asked you not to have this out here early? Hmm? Look at that. Specific amount of trace element copper has been linked to protecting cognitive function in older adults, providing new insights into how the mineral aids the brain. Uh, Disturbance while we're doing the podcast. Absurd. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Self sabotage, the science behind knowingly engaging in harmful behavior. I mean, who actually do the study on this bullshit? There's mad shit going on. You want to people self sabotage because they human. What else is better than self sabotage? The freedom to self sabotage, huh? Shit is insane. All right, let's see. The world's first lunar radio telescope readies for the far side mission. Do you see how much money they spend on that? Who actually spent all this money to go to the far side? What's happening on the far side? Hmm? Shit, crazy. Tiny house for two providers. Oh, let's go again. Let's go again. Tiny house for two provides light filled comfort in a compact footprint. Like, you got to be serious with yourself. Who asked you to start building all these tiny homes as if anybody wants to live in these tiny homes? I don't even think the bums want to live in these tiny homes for free. Okay, like they look appeasing or they look appealing for now, but when you're like finally living them in them, for like you're living in them for a few years, come on, man, you need more space. You just need more space. Let's see. LA spaceship like Lucas Museum finally ready for landing in 2026. Oh yeah, wow. And then Uranus, you hear that? Uranus is warmer than everyone thought. Who asked you? Who asked you if who asked you if Uranus was warm? Who? Who's calling my phone? Who's calling my? All right, let's see. Benched for no play. No, 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 no. New Laker DeAndre Ayton accused of leaving. What the hell? Of leaving women stranded in Turks after she refused to let him smash. Yo, who do you think you are, DeAndre Ayton? You don't even have a ring. Man, you're a bum player, bro. Like who asked you to even fly her out to Turks? She should refuse you. I'd refuse you on the ticket. It'd be like, yo, DeAndre Ayton for 5 rebounds, 10 points. I'm like, no, I refuse to put that bum on the ticket. Who asked you, man? Let's see that. Biker versus Hood. Oh man, I gotta fucking go back. Biker gang versus YNs. Biker versus Hood. The Hood versus Sons of Anarchy. Biker gang pulled up in Detroit. Next thing you know, fists flying everywhere. No guns, straight brawl. No, I don't want no notifications. We're not gonna watch this video. And that's honorable for them to be fighting them young boys with straight hands. I applaud them. I applaud the biker gang and I applaud the YNs. That's some real shit right there. All right. Who asked y'all not to always do that shit? All right. Leave the knives and guns for real shit. All right, for real beef. But anyways, moving on. Caught on camera at the Yankees game. Women's wild moments leave fans wondering if she's having freaky behavior or a seizure. Nah, she having freaky behavior. Who asked y'all to be looking at everybody in the stands? At some point, the cameraman has to stop doing all that FBI work at some of these games and some of these concerts, man. That's just not good. If you like, who asked you to do all that looking around? What the fuck? LA Hoovers, okay, okay. That looked like that was spicy news right there. LA Hoovers after Boosie over old debt. How do you over old debt? Like who asked you to over old debt and then put this on World Star? Let me go to this shit. Let me click on this shit, man. Let me click on this. 200 Hoovers deep. LA Hoovers after Boosie over old debt. OG gang member says he's locked Boosie in a room with 200 Hoovers over 50K or 55K debt. Yo, that's insane. Like Boosie, you better pay them dudes, man. I mean, Boosie could stay at where he's at and don't have to worry about any of that shit. But who wants to be looking over their back every time and shit, man? You got 55,000, man. Pay them dudes, man. You know what? Who asked you not to snitch on them? You know, I'm not a fan of no snitching. Don't be snitching out here, all right? Don't tell, especially if you into that shit. But yo, if you ain't into that and they locked you into that room, man, listen, man, I have to have a talking with them boys, all right? My team would have to have a talking with them as soon as possible. Anyways, let's move on. Damn, you see that close call just in time. Man says a drunk guy who fell into railway. Like, who asked you to be drunk next to a railway? What the fuck is going on with these people? Let's move on to TMZ. All right. OJ Simpson's attorney. Trump's distracting from Epstein with Obama OJ meme. Yo, who asked Trump to get these memes? Yo, Trump's a savage. And Obama and OJ meme goes crazy, man. Like, I don't understand. You know, who asked him to do that? Who's over there working for Trump asking him to do this? This is insane. This is insane. James Gunn, I hope school bullies won't go overboard teasing Trisha's baby Aquaman. Man, who asked you to tell us about any of this bullshit? Oh, they gonna be teasing her about some baby Aquaman? All right, listen, man. Let's move on from that nonsense. Cause who asked you? Nobody actually even sent us a picture of this chick having the baby. All right. Kayla Nicole, check out my body, addy, bikini boat break in Ibiza. Okay. Who asked you not to have your bikini boat body out all the time? You need to have it out all the time. You know what I'm saying? I President Trump on Epstein Island. I've never had the privilege of going. Oh wait, actually I declined invite. Yo, someone needs to ask Trump, yo, who asked you to answer any of these questions? You should be like, nah, get him out of here. I'm the president. I don't have to answer any of these questions. I don't have to say shit. I'm the president. Who asked you to be in these conversations, Trump? Because we know you was in them islands and we know you was friends with Epstein. know what I'm saying? I even fake at the same cut. His is just gray. Yours is blonde. We know about y'all. We know about y'all. We know. We know. All right, we're gonna wrap this up, man. That was about time. Just enough for us today. I'm happy for y'all tuning in. We're gonna go through some of our sponsors. Make sure we get our sponsors in here today. You know what I'm saying? One of our sponsors, we are brought to you by Karma Water. All right. Now, if you don't go and drink Karma Water, you should drink Karma Water. All right. They come in all these amazing flavors, very good probiotic energy drinks, wellness. They're very good for you. No sugars, very low sugars. They're very gluten free. If you're gluten free, that's good for you too. Go in and get you some Karma Water. They're at your local stores, you know, Market Basket, 7-Eleven, Stop and Shops, things like that. Go and look up Karma Water. It's good for you. Get it. All the sponsors, we got sponsors Zuku. All right, that's Danny Zuku. All right, you can go ahead and find him. He hosts a lot of parties and events. He also has treats in the Brooklyn area. If you're in the Brooklyn area, you need some treats, edibles, hit up Danny Zuko. That's at Danny Zuko. We'll also put the title in the description, or we'll put the information in the description for you and all that information, all that good stuff. Let's see who else we have for our sponsors. Right, we have Dove Body Soap and Body Wash. All right, listen, Dove, it smells good. They got good serum, good for your body. Makes you look new and refreshing. After a few weeks, not even a few, after 7 days of using this consistently, you'll be looking fresh and knowing that your skin is glowing. So get you some Dove and make sure you put that Dove deep in your ass so it don't smell crazy. All right. Make sure you wash up with that Dove. One of our next sponsors, all right. We are sponsored by Mondays with Johnny. All right. Johnny's a realtor. That's Johnny Philzame. He's a realtor out of Minnesota, one of the best realtors out there. If you have property you need to sell, or you're looking to get property, looking to get into a new apartment, a new house, anything like that, he's got great information. Every Monday, he brings to you a special with great detailed information on the real estate, on the market, and all that stuff. So go ahead and look into that. We'll have that information details as well. That's Johnny Philzame, and he's a realtor at Caldwell Bank. He's also has his own team. So if you're ever looking for properties, look that up. All right. We're also sponsored by Solenial, the archive. Go look up Solenial. They have great merch, great shirts, jeans, great photos, great concepts. Look up Solenials. We'll have that description in. We'll have that information in the description as well. All right. Let's see who else do I. What else do I forget? We got Focus International. Hook up with Focus International for all your DJ and host needs. Now he DJs internationally, worldwide and global. So anywhere you need it for your party needs, he'll be there, and he has all the best stuff for you. He has all the balloons, the smoke, the fog, great music, all genres, weddings, anniversaries, whatever you name it. Hook him up, hook him up, hook him up. All right, go out there and reach out to Focus International for all your entertainment needs. All right, let's see who else we got here for our sponsors. Let's see. Um, we got that in there. I don't know about all that. I think that's all we got for today. No, so we got what is it? Pool on the Hill. All right, we have one of our sponsors, Pool on the Hill. If you're ever looking for events and you need a pool, you need a host, you need event materials. We got that Pool on the Hill. That's out there in, I believe, North Carolina, South Carolina. We'll get more information on that in the description. Any more of our sponsors I have, I'll definitely put in the descriptions there, and then you guys can always click on the links and check them out. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Go ahead, have a good week. It's Monday. You know it's early. Go have a good day. Stay great. Stay dangerous. Stay out the way, and always tune in. You know what I mean? If you're not tuning in, I don't know what you're doing. You hear that laundry? That's me doing laundry. That's my laundry machine. I'm in the stream now. You guys be safe. Now let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and then I'm in the stream. Peace.